Today I'm going to read you one of the most disgusting verses in the Quran. Verse 24 from chapter 4. But to understand what is going on in this verse, I first have to start from verse 23, then we'll get to verse 24. So in verse 23, Allah lists the people you are not allowed to have sex with. So here it goes. Prohibited to you are your mothers, your daughters, your sisters, your father's sisters, your mother's sisters, your brother's daughters, your sister's daughters, your milk mothers, and it keeps going like that for a while. I'm not going to bore you with the rest of it. It's just a big list, right? So that's verse 23. Now let's go to verse 24, and this is where things get really weird and disgusting. Remember the context. The context is that Allah is listing the people that you are not allowed to have sex with. This is how verse 24 now picks up and continues, right? And also prohibited to you are all married women except, wait a minute, what just happened? Except God is allowing you to have sex with certain women who are already married to other men? What is this exception? So let's read this whole thing in full, right? And also prohibited to you are married women except those your right hand possesses, meaning slaves or war captives. Remember, having sex with slaves is rape. So God is telling you in the Quran that you can rape your female sex slaves even if she has a husband. Amazing. If you hear a Muslim make excuses for this verse, I hope some of you maybe call today and try to defend this verse, because this is truly, truly one of the most disgusting verses of the Quran. So please, 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 I hope somebody calls today. But if you guys, if you don't hear anybody calling in today, but if you hear somebody trying to tell me like, no, Armin is a liar, this verse doesn't actually mean what Armin is telling you it means, tell them this. And you could verify this yourself. It's actually very easy to verify all of this. So tell them this. Remember everything I'm saying. There's three things that you can verify this. Tell them that all the accepted hadiths by Islamic scholars, verified by Islamic scholars, meaning the recorded sayings of Prophet Muhammad, the Sha'nun Nuzul, meaning the context in which the verse was revealed to Muhammad, and the accepted tafsir, meaning the commentary on the Quran by Islamic scholars that are also experts in classical Arabic, meaning the Arabic of the Quran. All of this confirm that this verse is saying exactly what it sounds like it's saying. But if you think Allah or Muhammad are not in favor of raping sex slaves you captured in battle, then please call us. Please call us. Please. I don't know why Muslims are not calling into this show, because I think when I'm here, they know that I will basically humiliate their religion in front of everybody, and then they have to be responsible for embarrassing Islam. That's why they're cowards. That's why they're not calling us. But if you think I'm wrong about any of this, please call us, because the show is starting right now. Hello, everyone. Welcome, everybody. Today is October 13, 2024. I am your host, Armin Navabi, and joining me today is Jim Barrows. Hi, Jim.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you? I missed you. We haven't been doing this. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, I had to take a 6-month hiatus while I was finding work. So that prevented me from being able to run the place where I actually do these shows from that has enough bandwidth. So, but yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. What do you think about the verse that I just read?
I think you were talking about it earlier in the show. This came because some of the Islamic soldiers didn't think they could have sex with their slaves because they were already married. And I was like, oh, it just keeps getting worse. And then you
Yes.
made it even worse. And I'm like, no.
Yes. Yes. Right. Yes.
Just like the Bible, right? Just when you think it can't get worse, oh look, it does.
Okay. Yes, yes. So what Jim is referring to is the hadith that shows the context of this verse, because the context is that some Arabs at the time, when they captured slaves in battle, they weren't having sex with some of them because they were their sex slaves were married, so they didn't want to have sex with the ones that were already married. They thought that was a wrong thing to do because they had husbands. And Muhammad, this revelation, this verse was revealed by Muhammad, telling them to no, go ahead, it's fine. So showing that Islam was actually worse than the standard of his time, because a lot of people sometimes make excuses for religion, like, okay, yeah, religion is bad for today's standards, but it was okay for the time and place that it came. It was better, it improved upon the standards at the time. But this actually context of this verse shows that actually no, it wasn't an improvement, and in fact the moral standard at the time considered this to be wrong, and Muhammad just came and gave them the go ahead to, yeah, no, there's no, yeah, it doesn't matter. Even if they have husbands, go ahead, rape them.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And then I said, anyways, just when you thought it couldn't be worse, it actually is. And you said that. And then you did make it worse by pointing out that apparently during, if I remember correctly, during the Iranian Revolution, you said that women who were being executed, soldiers, were encouraged to make sure they didn't die virgins. And I was like, wow, yeah, that is worse.
Yes, back right after the 1979 Islamic Revolution, soldiers were encouraged by religious scholars to make sure that they rape the young female captives before execution, just to make sure that they don't die virgins, and they considered that to be a good deed. So yeah, that was also another thing. Anyways, I think I'm bumming people out with all this rape talk. So let's actually get to the rest of the show. I think, by the way, Jim, I think there's a little bit of a delay between us. So if I interrupt you, I apologize.
Yeah, there usually is.
I think there's a... Yeah, okay. All right, so the Atheist Experience is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government, which is something that we so much need these days to be emphasized on. So I'm so glad to be part of the ACA for all these things that it's promoting. As you guys know, that every week we do a question of the week, and then you guys comment, and we pick the best ones, and then we read the best comments, the top 3 the week after. So let's do previous week's question and the top 3 answers, and then we will have a new question for this week. So last week we asked you, what did we ask? Tell me you are religious without telling me you are religious. Oh, that is clever. So let's see answer number 3 by Josh M5I, saying, okay, tell me you're religious without telling me you're religious. Atheism is the belief that God doesn't exist. Yeah, I keep hearing that. I also hear a lot of people referring to it as a religion, which I usually love because it basically verifies that they're considering something being a religion as a bad thing. Number 2 by Chuck Gaydos. Am I reading that right? Okay. Telling people you're religious without saying you're religious, you fall to your knees a lot while watching sporting events. Okay. I can't relate to any of that because I don't watch sports. Okay, or I've never, so so Jim relates with that. Okay, number 1, lovely, wow, look these usernames, I love these usernames. Lovely Queer King. Okay, tell me you're religious without telling me you're religious. If you ever talk about the war on Christmas unironically, yes, that's a giveaway. Yeah, that's a good one. All right. These were some great answers. So let's do this week's question. The prompt for this week is, what is an underquoted scripture at weddings? Jim, what do you think? What is an underquoted scripture at weddings?
I think Genesis 19:33 through 36. And they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in and lay with her father. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve the seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. I think that's something that should be read at every wedding.
So, Jim, I think you're challenging me because you saw my scripture promoting rape, and you raised me with rape and incest at the same time. So, is this a challenge? Should I go
in this case, it's in this case, it's a woman raping a man, and incest. Yes.
Yes. So it's
so it's a little bit different because
right. I feel like there should be laws on the there should be. Would you agree with this, Jim? Do you think the law should make it mandatory that you put 18 plus on the Bible? Like, or an advisory note that this is not.
Yeah,
I mean, we make it for movies and video games.
I mean, that's one of. Yeah, that's one of like dozens of verses we could have chosen. Like, I mean, you can pretty much randomly choose anything in the Song of Solomon, as being pornographic. So if you want to ban pornography, let's start with the Bible. But Christians already do that. Like, they have children's Bibles that don't really cover everything that's in the Bible. So just a happy-go-lucky stuff. So they do that already. So, but it's not the full Bible.
Yeah, but still, the full Bible doesn't have a warning label on it. And given that we do put warning labels on, video games and movies and some other books, I think that we have already set the precedent that this is okay to put advisory. We have made the law is we have already set the precedent that this can be law. So this should also apply to the Bible and the Quran and other religious texts that has this type of language in it. I think so. I don't know. I think. Should be consistent.
I agree.
Okay. So
if you're going to be consistent, should definitely.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep interrupting you because of the delay. Okay. It's okay. I will figure this out. All right. Okay. So we're getting super chats already. Guys, make sure you send us super chats. I'm going to read them soon. But before I read the super chats, we should get to the first call. Let me see. Miss Jimmye, I think, right? So Miss Jimmye from Arizona saying, I believe science and religions are games, both rule-bound and activities with agenda. Okay, so let's talk to her. Let's see what she has to say. Hi. I don't know if I pronounced your name right. I think I pronounced it wrong. Jimmye. Hi.
Yeah, don't worry. Nobody knows how to pronounce it.
Okay, good.
I get Jimmye.
I mean, good for me.
Jimmye. Sometimes I even get Jemima. I have no idea where they get that.
Okay, that sounds cool. Anyways, okay, tell us. You believe that science and religions are games and with agendas. So what's that all about? Tell us.
Yes. Well, not so much agendas, but they are rule-bound activities. Any axiomatic system is basically essentially a game where they have rules that define what you can do and what you cannot do and what you can say and what you cannot say, that is according to the rules. And they also have a goal in mind. For science, the goal is learning new things or coming up with conclusions that you can pretty much rely on. Religion, on the other hand, in addition to all of the rules there, the main goal is not to discover new things, but to defend the things that you already know.
Okay, but
in order to have a game, you also have to have a winner, right? Don't you also have to have a winner? So who wins the so-called science game?
Well, if you achieve your goal, then and you learn something new, then you've essentially won.
Okay, here's the thing. Based on this,
almost all scientists learn something new, so they all win.
I mean, my problem is that with this definition, one second, Mr. Jimmy, with this definition, all sets of activities would become games, wouldn't that be? Because every set of activities would have a goal, and an agenda, and a goal, and if you achieve that goal, you're technically winning. So, I mean. Mm-hmm. I don't. If the definition of the word game is so broad that basically all sets of activities could be defined as games, then the word game would lose its utility as a word.
No, because you can have activities that are not rule bound. Okay. For example,
all rule bound activities would be games. So if you have rules, you have games.
All rule, yes. Games of language.
Okay, so what's the point of? I mean, the definitions of words are up to us.
All thought is a game.
Yes, in the sense that you are using particular rules or axioms to define what is good thought as opposed to bad thought.
Okay, but what's the point of this? Because this is this is not the definition. This is your definition, and there's no problem with you having your definition. But I could have it there's no strict rules for how we look at what a game is, and I'm not. You're not wrong. This is just a definition that you prefer. I might prefer a different definition for game, and because this is just an agreement that we have. Definitions, unless we're doing something scientific or legal, they're flexible on how we look at words and what we mean. There's no some strict black and white boundaries for where the definition lies, right? So, but if you want to look at the definition of game like that and call science a game and call religion a game, yeah, sure, go ahead and do that. But what's the utility of this discussion? To me, what's more important is when it comes to science and religion, whether you want to call them games or not, is whether they're productive, whether they actually increase well-being of humans or other conscious being on average. Are they beneficial or not beneficial? I mean, I don't care that much whether they meet your definition of a game applies to them or it doesn't apply to them. I think the main thing that we have to be concerned about is whether or not they are productive and increase average well-being in society. And science does that, and religion does the opposite. That's the main point. That's the main difference.
Well, the benefit of playing the science game is that you get to learn new things, and there are a great many rules that have to be followed, and if you break any one of those rules, you are not doing science. You're doing something else. For example, there are.
I'm left wondering, why do I care you label this as a game? What's the utility in doing that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yes, if you do that, then you can see that a lot of arguments really amount to arguments between games really amount to nothing. They're just completely useless.
What?
You just said that playing the game has utility. Now you're saying the game is useless.
The science.
No.
There's a. Are you suggesting there's a lot of rules within the scientific? Wait, did I understand this correctly? Are you saying there's a lot of rules within the scientific method that is useless?
No, not at all. All of the rules.
What are you saying?
Have to be followed.
So what was the useless?
Then you said the
claim that you
utility of
just made?
labeling science a game is useless.
What is it that is useless? Can you clarify?
I said
Okay, clarify then.
the useless part are arguments between games. If you see them, see these systems as games, then you see a lot of the arguments that come up as useless.
No. Okay, so you have to just because you
but except that the
label
religious
them
game
both-
makes scientific claims.
No, okay. So even if it,
Right?
I mean, yes,
Yeah,
that's true.
I
But
mean, I
even
know
if
where
it
Armin was
didn't,
going.
yes, go on. Sorry, Jim. You go ahead, and then I'll follow. We'll keep.
I know where you're going. I think we're going to the same place, which is that religion makes scientific claims, and religion makes claims about reality, and so does science. And so you can label them separate games, but if they're both making the same claims, then they're the same game, right? And there's only one game in town that consistently gets us to the truth, despite human beings being prejudiced, despite human beings making mistakes, despite all the flaws that we humans have, consistently gets us there. And it's the game of science. So there really is only one game. You can try and separate them all you want, but they both are making claims about reality. So they're the same game. So I don't see, again, I mean, I don't understand why we care if it's a game or not, right? You saying that science is a game to me is no different than me saying the sky is blue. Okay. Or I think it's robin's egg blue and someone else says, no, it's a deeper blue than that. Okay. But yeah, it's just.
Okay.
Wait. Before you respond to that, even if I accept your premise that they're both games, the fact your conclusion does not follow that arguments between them or comparing their utility is useless. So, for example, we could play a game. I could have a knife. I could have a surgical knife, and we could play two games with it. We could have one game where surgeon comes and use this to try to save the highest number of lives. That has some rules. It has an agenda, and you could win by saving lives. Or we could pick the same knife and play another game and see how many innocent lives we could take murdering people with it. And whoever manages to kill more people, more innocent lives, they are the winner. We will set rules. We will have an agenda. We will have an objective. These, based on your definition, these two are both games. Are you suggesting that the argument that the first game is more productive and improves well-being in society, and the second one is a horrible game that is harmful to society? Do you think that is a flawed argument just because they're both games? I mean, I think that makes complete sense to compare them and consider one of them to be helpful and the other one to be the opposite.
Okay, well, then you're getting into moral issues. And I would agree that the game using a knife with surgery in mind would be a much more moral game than a game that's using a knife to kill people. But I'm just talking about the games in and of themselves without respect to any of their moral considerations.
Well, when we get to argument,
and I'm saying that they're the same game.
I mean, when we get to arguments, you're saying there's no point arguing over these things, but usually when we're getting to arguments, we're talking about them being helpful or not helpful. And given that as utilitarians, if we're measuring well-being, that would be a moral argument. So the whole point of the arguments is to make normative claims, to realize, to discover which methodologies and which practices are better and which ones are not. So if you're saying that you're just going to remove the normative claims, and that's when we we were not going to have arguments with each other. Well, the whole point of these arguments are, I mean, a large part of these arguments is for us to figure out what makes us better off, which will get us into moral arguments, because the whole nature of moral arguments, if what you consider moral is what improves well-being in society, that's the whole point of this discussion. So if you want to take morality away from it and say, well, if we take morality away from it and now it's not we don't have to argue anymore, yeah, well, but that was the point of the arguments, to figure out what's better for us. But go ahead, Jim. I interrupted you. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah. So the game is the same. They're both science and religion are making claims about reality. The game is the same. They're not two different games. They're the same game. They're making claims about reality. Religion claims that there are one or more gods, or that there is some sort of supernatural force. Science is going, we don't see it, and is making claims about the universe as well, but backing it up with actual tests and experiments to try and disprove themselves, as well as prove what they're saying. So they're the same game because they're making claims about the truth. I don't really see how they are different. They're the same thing.
They are different games because they use different rules in order to organize the world. You were talking about how science is the only game in town. Well, I agree with that if your goal is to learn new things. Then science is the only game in town, although there are different versions of science that will say other things.
But religion does the same thing. They're making claims about what is true. That's the game. Proving what true is and what reality is. That's the game. That's how they're the same.
If you accept that that scientific truth is the only truth, then yes.
No.
But
truth is truth.
Then you start
right. True is that which conforms to reality, is adjudicated by predictive power. Doesn't matter where it comes from. All that matters is that it's true. So there's no types of truth, or one thing only has the truth, right?
Right.
It's what you can prove to be true that conforms to reality. So, and religion is making claims about things that they think conform to reality, and science does as well. And scientists can be religious as well. So again, it's the same game, and I don't see how dividing it up into two different things makes any difference.
And also, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is no, just a second, let me also get my, there is no scientific truth, because science is not a body of knowledge. Science is a methodology to get to the truth. So there is no scientific truth. There's only truth. There's the truth. And there are better ways to get to it, and there are worse ways to get to it. And so far, it seemed like the best way to get closer to the truth is using the scientific method, and everything else either fails or doesn't even come remotely close to the scientific method. So the methods that we have is the modern scientific method, which is the best form of empiricism. Then we have rationalism. Then we have revelation. We have faith. We have gut feelings. So from all these methods, the only two that work is rationalism and also empiricism. And empiricism seems to be the best one of them. It works even better than rationalism. And the best form of empiricism is the current modern scientific method. And we can show that it works far better than any other methodology that humans have ever came across. And we know that because of the predictive power that it has, and also the manipulative power that it has. I mean, technology itself is a sign that this is whatever we get out of science must be closer to reality than other methods, because it gives us abilities that other methods don't give us. So it's a sign that so we will never be able to get to the truth itself, right to the truth, but we could only hope to get closer and closer to it. And the more predictive and manipulative power you have based on the information you gather with your methodology is an indication that your methodology is working and it's getting you closer to the truth. And that's how we know that the scientific method works. I don't know, Jim, do you agree with that, or was any of that You want to correct any?
Yeah, I mean, we're basically saying the same thing, right? That religion and science are playing the same game. They're trying to determine what is true. Science does it better because it's a methodology. I mean, science is a methodology, but we use the word in multiple ways to refer not only to the methodology, but also to the body of knowledge created by that methodology. So it depends on how you want to use the word, whether you're talking about science, the body of knowledge, or science, the methodology. Both, I think, are correct. But yeah, they're the same game. They're both trying to make these claims about reality. And if you're trying to make a claim about reality, you need to have a methodology to do that. And so it's the same game, because if we're playing by the same rules, right? That's basically what philosophy is, the study of knowledge. You know, you have epistemology, which is how do we know what we know? We have science, which is dealing with the physical things. And we've got, you know, philosophy of beauty. There's all kinds of things under that heading of philosophy. It's all the same quote unquote game, which is why I don't understand why trying to divide these things up makes any sense. And I don't see how calling them a game makes any sense either. I mean, I'm still kind of stuck on that one, but that's what we're talking about at the moment. So we'll keep that frame of reference, but it's the same game.
Anyways, go ahead and go ahead and make your point.
Okay. Yes, if you want to know what is reality, then science is the only game in town, really. But the religious game is not really concerned with finding out new things. They
That's
start
not true.
with I'm sorry?
The religions
I don't think that's true because...
Yeah. Go on, Jim.
Okay.
So the Bible and the Jewish folks, the Israelites, have a long history of finding new things in their Bible all the time. And that's why we get quotes taken out of context, because they go, all of a sudden this quote used to mean this, but now we think it means this. People read the Bible and find new things in it all the time. So I don't necessarily think that's true. And I think when you talk about religious folks in general, there are some scientists who are religious. So again, it's the same thing. We're all trying to find out what is true. Religious folks are trying to do it as well. And if they didn't, we wouldn't have as much science as we do now, because most of the sciences in antiquity were religious of one kind or another. So.
And also all religions that I know of so far make claims about reality and claim to bring truths to you that were previously unknown, and also claim to have hidden truths within those revelations for future people to come, for them to read it in the proper way, for them to be able to discover that. So the religion itself claims that it's making claims about reality, that you could learn about reality from reading its scripture. So I don't know, you're making it claims about religion that religion doesn't claim about itself.
The number one rule in the game of religion is that God exists, and the rest of the rules, roughly
not necessarily,
are
not in Buddhism. Not in Buddhism, for example, or in some Chinese religion.
Oh, okay, all right. That's a good point. I'm going to write that down.
And Shintoism deals with spirits and not gods.
Kami.
Yes.
Yeah, but go on.
Theistic. Okay, I will restrict it to talking about theistic religions. The number one rule of theistic religions is that God exists, and the rest of the rules very roughly deal with how that.
Now you're eliminating all the pantheistic religions. Yeah.
No.
How so?
But what's your point?
So yes, they're trying to support that. They're trying to support their claims about reality. They're trying to say that one or more gods, theistic folks are trying to prove that one or more gods exist, depending on which branch of theism they come from. That is true. But that's a claim about reality, just like science does.
Okay, get to your point fast because we need to get to the other caller. So make your point in 1 or 2 sentences so I get you, so we respond to it really quick. What's your point? What's the point that you want to make?
The theistic religions, the number one rule is God exists, and that the rest of the rules are basically determining how the facts are related to that first rule. Any fact that supports the number one rule is a good fact. Any rule that runs counter to that first rule is a bad fact.
No, not necessarily. Within religions, for example, within Islam, we have many different sects that are fighting over descriptions of reality, and neither form actually counters. So, for example, when Mu'tazilites were fighting with at the beginning of the history of Islam, when they were fighting against other people who were not Mu'tazilites, all of them accepted that God exists and God is one. However, the disagreements that they had, none of that contradicted the pre-assumption that there's a God. So this is another wrong claim. So when Protestants, for example, are fighting Catholics, their disagreements about the nature of everything is not based on which one of these descriptions of reality better confirms that there's a God. The disagreements could be over other things as well. And yeah, so anyways, I think we have to move on, but I think you should revisit that as well. One last sentence. One sentence. Yeah, go on.
One sentence. You guys did exactly what I was hoping you would do. You gave me questions that I need to consider, and I thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being open-minded and questioning your own views. That's fantastic. Well, great job. Okay, so let me drop that call. Before I have more callers, but let's do some super chats. And guys, send us super chats so we could read as many of them as we can on the show. So we have first super chat by Rainbow Wolf saying you're defining parental rights. It's a noun. A euphemism for adults should have the right to abuse kids. Notice they are against children's rights. Yes, a lot of parents think that they own their children just because, they had something to do with the creation process. That means that they own it. So that's not right. Miranda with the $5 super chat and 6 months of membership saying the story of Lot's daughters sounds a lot more like an excuse Lot made up for his own behavior. I don't like always blaming men in the stories. Like this could have been this is like some anti-male sexism. It could have been just the daughters. Okay, why are you blaming? Okay, if you want to blame Lot for basically giving up his daughters for graping for the people at the door. Okay, so this one was up. This one, first of all, what am I even saying? None of the story even happened. Like we're trying to figure out what actually happened. In reality, none of this even happened. Okay, so Jason is a member for 2 years. 2 years of membership. Thank you so much, Jason, for being a member. And Jason gifted 5 Atheist Experience memberships. Wow, guys, 5 people are now members because of Jason.
That's awesome.
Say thank you, Jason. Yes, so maybe thank Jason if you just became a member. Oh, and Jason also gave us a $200 super chat? Holy cow. Wow, yeah, it is.
Oh.
I thought that was a mistype. I had to check on my phone. I thought you guys added an extra 0 by mistake. No, it's actually a $200 super chat. Thank you, Jason.
That's very generous, Jason. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's very generous. That's amazing. Also, 2 years of membership. Saying shout out to my amazing wife on her birthday. You are my life, my universe, my everything. Oh, that's so sweet. Happy birthday, Jason's wife. And that's a very sweet message. That's so sweet. Oh, that was so wholesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's sweet. Nero with 6 months 6 months of membership, and a $5 super chat saying, they say prayer can move mountains. I've never seen that, but I have seen science blow them the hell up. That's a good one. Oh, actually another quote similar to that is, science flies you to the moon, religion flies you into buildings, referring to 9/11. So that's a good one as well. Yeah. So Ben Maslow, am I reading that right? With a $10 super chat saying, Armin, number one, when Muslims say that every baby is born a Muslim, what do they really mean? Two, why are Muslims so intent on calling the Buddha a prophet? Okay, so question number one, Muslims say, okay, so the idea is that naturally everything is worshiping Allah, like that is within nature, it's a natural way of things. So when we are born, our natural desire is to move towards worshiping Allah and being Muslim. However, the reason why we become non-Muslims is because we are brainwashed by society. So in the purest state, when you're born, you are born a Muslim because you're pure, you have this innate feeling towards worshiping Allah, but then society and the environment basically takes you away from that and you become a non-Muslim. So if a non-Muslim becomes a Muslim, they don't call them Muslim converts, they call them Muslim reverts, because they are reverting back to Islam. So if for example, if you're an atheist or a Christian and become a Muslim call you a Muslim revert because you're going back to Islam. So we think everything in nature basically recognizes Allah and worships Allah. So that's the first question. What's the second question was? Where's the second question? Okay. Why are Muslims so intent on calling the Buddha a prophet? Okay, so this is not all Muslims say the Buddha was a prophet. But basically, if you recognize anybody as a prophet, that means that they were part of Islam. So in Islam, Muhammad is the final prophet, but there were many other prophets before Muhammad, starting with Prophet Adam from Adam and Eve, Moses, and everybody else. And basically, by claiming, just like in Hinduism, by turning Jesus into a god, maybe, so by some Hindus or some other people's prophets or saints into gods, they try to expand the territory of the religion. Baha'ism does that as well. Islam tries to basically expand its territory of dominance all over the world and over everyone's ideology by claiming that your holy person was actually a prophet within Islam, right? And also the teachings from that person is false. You corrupted it. So that person, like Buddha or Jesus or Moses, was actually preaching Allah's message, was preaching Islam. But the reason why you have Christianity and Judaism or Buddhism or Hinduism today is because the people corrupted the message that was revealed from Allah and they changed it into something that is not from Allah. So basically that's a way to expand their religion over more cultures and more territory by claiming that. It's basically like a flag. It works like a flag, like this is ours, right? Basically, this is stealing IP. This is stealing of intellectual property. That's what it is, I think, right? If you should file for trademark or something. I don't know. Okay, so did I answer? No, there's another super chat. Anna with a $5 super chat saying, been a rough week. Thanks for making my day a little better with you cutie patooties. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Well, that's sweet. Okay, did I read that out? Oh, thank you, Anna. That's sweet. Oh, okay. Okay, so that was fun. Let's go back to some calls. Guys, why are there no Muslims calling? I basically insulted your God. I insulted your prophet. I insulted your Quran. I insulted your religion. Have you no ghaira? Have you no ghaira? Do you have no feelings towards protecting? Do you not feel the responsibility to come and shut me up and defend the religion of your prophet? How dare you? Like, what is this? Don't be a coward and call in. You guys just know. You guys know I would just embarrass you in front of everyone. That's why you're not calling. Anyways, should I go to who? Let me see. It is in fact. Okay, let's go to Dan. Dan has an interesting point. Hi, Dan. Dan is from Canada, saying it it is a fact that the Bible does teach morality. Okay, go ahead, Dan. Explain that to us.
Well, before we get into the fact that the Bible does teach morality through the 10 Commandments and through Jesus' 7 Commandments, do you guys believe in a creator?
We're atheists. Do you know what that means?
What's the evidence for one?
It's the Atheist Experience.
So the evidence is everything you observe has.
No, Dan. Actually, Jim, don't ask him that question. We are going to talk about the thing that you told our call screener that you're going to be talking about. Okay, so you told the call screener
well, if you don't
that
even,
the thing you want to talk about.
Even believe in a creator. If you don't,
yes, that's the meaning of an. Did you not know that? Okay, so we cannot. Okay, so we cannot talk. So I'm just gonna drop you and go to the next person. So you did be like, oh, we cannot talk about this because you don't believe in a creator. Okay, so then we will not talk. I'll go to the next person. So next person is Jim from Florida saying. No, it says we cannot talk. So what's the point? No, I said like we cannot talk. Okay, then I'll drop you if we cannot talk. Okay, so what's up? All right, so let's go to Jim saying 7 tenets of satanic atheism. So let's see what Jim has to say from Florida. Hi, Jim.
Oh, hello. Yes, sir. Hope y'all doing good today. I was just looking at reading over these 7 fundamental tenets of the satanic atheism. And really, that's a good philosophy, I'd say. I don't know if y'all might want to go over them or discuss it like that, but I've got them pulled up here.
No, I'm familiar with the Satanic Temple, but that's not necessarily satanic atheism. Those are, I mean, if you're wanting to quote them, give them their correct name, the name that they have chosen, which is the Satanic Temple. And yes, they are atheists, which makes them even funnier.
Yeah.
What is satanic atheism?
But wouldn't y'all say that, well, that's a religion. I mean, right? It's just another religion. So, but then Anton LaVey would be the prophet of that, like Jesus was to Christianity.
No. You're confusing things entirely. The Satanic, the TST, the Satanic Temple, has nothing to do with LaVey. And if you're on their website, you would know that.
Instead, he created LaVey.
Right, because if you're on the page that says there are 7 fundamental tenets, if you scroll down a little bit further, they'll say the Satanic Temple versus the Church of Satan. 2 different organizations. One of them is from LaVey and the other one is not. So there you go.
And I'm speaking about LaVey and Satanism. That's a different Satanism. You're saying with the 7 tenets, he didn't create the 7 tenets.
Nope. What you're saying? The Church of Satan may have 7 tenets of their own, but you're talking about 2 different organizations. You're talking about the Satanic Temple, which are atheists, and they use a lot of that a lot of satanic imagery and other stuff, and do a lot to piss off the religious right, which is always good. And you have the Church of Satan. They are 2 different organizations. They have nothing to do with each other than they both have Satan in their name.
Hey, one thing I heard you mention, Jim, was that pantheism was a religion. That is not true. It's a philosophy. So you need to get that right.
No, pantheism is the name for a type of theism which believes in a whole pantheon or multiple gods. It is a label for a type of religion. So you're partially right. And I did have it correctly, and I used the word correctly. Try it again.
It's based on the philosophy of Spinoza, 1677 ethics. It's got nothing to do with religion, no Bible, no following, no leaders, no church. So that's not a religion, it's a philosophy. Get it right.
Yeah, well, I think that's correct.
Correct. My apologies. I was thinking.
Yeah. Yes, go on, Jim.
Yeah, pantheism, I was thinking was coming from pantheon. So my apologies. You are correct. Now, can you be correct about the Satanic Temple and the Church of Satan?
That's what I'm trying to talk. You know a lot about it. So the 7 tenets that talk about freedoms and liberties and stuff, just like our Constitution does, kind of. It's like a ripoff of that. But like, really, like if you read John Stuart Mill on liberty, he's talking about the same kind of thing. So it's like a ripoff of On Liberty. You could just read that, and you don't need to get into those 7 tenets. He covers it. Actually, Mill covered it with one tenet. It was like, do whatever you will as long as you don't infringe on anyone else's freedoms and liberties in the course of what you're doing. Covers it all: murder, rape, everything. One tenet.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best objective morality I've ever read. John Stuart Mill on liberty.
Yes, John Stuart Mill is one of the main thinkers when it comes to utilitarianism, which is basically the moral philosophy that I agree with. But okay, but that we are agreeing. Yeah, John Stuart Mill is one of the great thinker, and I think actually on liberty, I think that's not his utilitarianism is explained more in his book on utilitarianism, not on the book on liberty. Is actually more of a political book. He has another writing that is about morality, that he goes into detail about morality.
Let me
he has a morality.
Would you say it was?
So actually, I have it right here. I have it right. So I have it both in one book actually. So there's On Liberty and also Utilitarianism by John Stuart Mill. So the On Liberty one is a more of a political philosophy book, and the Utilitarianism is more his thoughts on morality. And actually, when it comes to both politics and moral philosophy, John Stuart Mill, you cannot beat John Stuart Mill. So this is a very small, short book that you could get the best moral philosophy and the best political philosophy in a very short reading, both together.
Man, I really
you don't.
You know your stuff as far as this goes. Kudos to you, sir.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Like, so if you check, I'd like for you to check out, and specifically, you may have already done it, the 7 fundamental tenets of the Satanic Temple. I guess that's not LaVey or
okay,
what Tim was saying.
So here's the thing, Jim. I don't know much about the Satanic Temple, but I think that's more of a source of fun and also activism against challenges to secularism than if a life philosophy that is a good source, right? So I don't know the different branches of Satanism, or like I just think like the two utilities that I've seen from what I've seen on the news is sometimes people like to enjoy dress up or pretend like they have some religious traditions even though they don't believe in it. It's just a fun thing to do. The symbolism is fun. That's especially people who are anti-religion. So the fun element is one utility, and also because Christians in the United States are scared of Satanism, and whenever they want to allow religion in the politics or in the school system, then the Satanic Temple comes in and say like, okay, if you want to allow religion in these places, they step in, or like you should allow us as well. And then they panic, and all of a sudden they become secular themselves because they don't want to allow Satanism in these places. So that's another utility. And I appreciate both of those utilities, but I don't think it's actually a good source to go figure out, morality or a better way to live, or to figure out politics. I think the utilities are basically the ones that I mentioned, right? I think if you want to look for moral, moral system, yeah, go on, Jim.
Yeah, so you just read their About Us on their webpage. The mission of the Satanic Temple is to encourage benevolence and empathy, reject tyrannical authority, advocate practical common sense, oppose injustice, and undertake noble pursuits. So they're not. They actually don't. They have 7 tenets, but they're not promoting a morality, so to speak. They're just saying these are the things one should strive to act with compassion, empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason is the first tenet. They're not trying to be a religion, but they do, like you mentioned, do a lot of advocacy. That's also on their website. And they do some other stuff as well. You could say it's costume or cosplay or whatever, and that's fine too. But they don't all do that. Cosplay is not a huge part of what they do. Mostly they are also they just opened a clinic. The second satanic abortion clinic in Virginia. So they just opened that up. So they do a bunch of other stuff too. But yeah, they're not a religion, nor are they attempting to be a religion. They're just a group that has a set of tenets, just like other groups do as well. So the Red Cross has a set of what you could call tenets. The Shriners Temple folks. There's lots of organizations that do the same thing.
The Geneva Conventions. But like,
Jim, just one thing.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So they have a Bible, they have a church, they have leaders, they have a following, they lobby Congress just like Christians do. So how is that different? It seems like if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it may be a duck.
If you want to call it the religion, call it the religion.
Lots of secular organizations lobby Congress. Does that make them religions?
Yeah. But here's the thing, Jim. Whatever you want to call it, Jim. If you're looking for a way to figure out like a moral system. So again, the main utility of these organizations are something else. That's my point. And again, anybody giving you a list of these are good things and these are bad things, that is, even if it's not a religion, it's a religious way of looking at morality. The reason I was happy when you mentioned John Stuart Mill, because if you look into utilitarianism, it doesn't give you a list of good things and bad things. It gives you the tools to figure out what's good and what's bad. Right? It doesn't give you the fish. It teaches you how to fish yourself. You have to look for a methodology rather than looking for the final answers. And utilitarianism provides that for you. So if you're looking to Satanism and to see or any other ideology that is giving you, I don't care, even if it's a religion or not a religion, if they list you, these are the good things and these are the bad things, that's the wrong way to go about looking at morality.
Oh, yeah.
You should probably go look into what they actually say.
Yes.
Yeah, I read the 7 tenets. I've got them pulled up right here. It's about freedom.
It's okay. We don't have to go through it. Because we have other callers, right? But take Jim's. I appreciate them. I don't care.
Hey.
Yeah.
Remember, I appreciate your tip on that. But just again, a Bible, a church, a congregation, leader, and followers. Yeah, that's a religion.
Depends on your definition of religion. I took a course once, and the professor. Hold on, I'm answering you, Jim. Okay, the definition of religion that I think has the highest utility is not based on the things that you said. Okay, it's very simple. This is the definition that I pick, and I picked it from a university professor. It has to have 2 elements for it to be a religion, right? It has to have a belief in supernatural. 1, 2, it has to have rituals. And these are a very simple 2 checks that you have. Does it have these 2? If it has these 2, it's a religion, okay? And based on what I know by many of these Satanists is that they don't actually believe in supernatural. So they're just having fun with it, and they don't actually believe in supernatural. So given that they don't believe in supernatural, technically by this definition that I use, they cannot be considered a religion.
Okay, well then Buddhism wouldn't be a religion either, then would it?
Buddhists do no. I said supernatural. I didn't say God. Buddhism does believe in supernatural. Buddhism does not believe in.
There's no supernatural in Buddha. What's supernatural?
There is. There's karma, there's afterlife, there's reincarnation. Some versions of it have their own pantheons. I mean, they have reincarnation, they have nirvana, they have karma, all of this, like, that's supernatural. Reincarnation is supernatural.
I mean, that's not necessarily, that could be natural. It might not be supernatural.
It cannot be natural.
It's just the natural order of the universe. Why would you say it's unnatural?
Well, first of all, they claim it's supernatural, and also, if you are claiming that, you have to demonstrate that. So far as we know, it's not part of nature. Anyway, that's a different discussion. But thank you, Jim. We have to move on. We have to move on to other callers. But before we move on to other callers, I have to make an announcement. As many of you know, we have initiated phase 2 of our brick fundraiser. We want to highlight some of the standout orders we've received. This week's featured brick comes from, oh, wow, we're featuring bricks. Okay, this week's featured bricks come from AB from California. This brick says, you always get more of what you tolerate. Thank you for your purchase, AB. Get yours at tiny.cc/ACA bricks. This is a really fun way to support the ACA. So thank you for that. Thank you for buying bricks. You could basically order these bricks and you could put whatever you want on them. Is it really whatever? Is it really whatever? I don't know if it's whatever. Maybe there's some limitations. I'm not sure. All right. We actually have now a lot of good callers. Let's go to Anne from Oregon. So let's bring. Hi, Anne.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Hi. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello? Okay, so I just wanted to mainly just wanted to call and thank the ACA and the Atheist Experience for promoting skepticism and also for being allied with the LGBTQ community. I'm 40. I was in the closet until this last, just before Pride Month. I decided to come out. The last step was, I'm a trans woman. The last step was being willing to have a conversation about it with people, because I kind of prefer to like have my space to do my own thing and just go throughout my day. And putting on a dress and a skirt made it a lot harder. But for a while, I didn't want to listen to the Atheist Experience because there were a number of hosts who brought up trans people and LGBTQ related things, and it made it difficult to stay in denial. So I stopped listening for a while, and kind of disappointed I did, because it's a lot more enjoyable to listen to a live show than to go through the back catalog of podcasts.
Well, congratulations for coming out.
I would say I became an atheist when I was about 18. I could not resolve the question of abortion morally. I couldn't resolve it, at least from the Christian perspective, and using categorical syllogisms. I was in high school. That was the depth of my philosophical reasoning at the time. And these days, I do still identify. Well, I identify as a theist, but I told the screener I mostly identify as a Taoist, and I practice then. Your last caller mentioned Buddhism and Satanism. I know a little about both of those. I wouldn't say I practice Zazen as much as I talk about it, but it's pretty basic meditation.
Why are you a Taoist?
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Because I have no clue what to do. Are you there?
Yes. I think there's a delay.
Okay.
Yes. I think there's a delay.
I would say I mean, I could also identify as a Gnostic, but that is a very loaded label. I didn't want to start out with that. But like I identify as a Taoist because I find answers in simplicity, and it's not.
So it's just a.
I mean, to me, doubt. It's just a label, right? But like,
right. It's just a fun thing. It's not really. Do you think would it be accurate for me to say it's just fun to just follow the rules and use the label rather than claiming that they actually are making any justifiable claims about the universe? It's not that. It's just like they have some fun practices and it's just fun to have that label. It's more of a feeling thing. Would you say that?
What's fun is that you don't know about Taoism, but that's okay because it's not a religion. It's a philosophical system that's vaguely defined, but to me, it's just like
it is a religion.
Going with my instinct.
I mean, saying it's a philosophical system doesn't make it not a religion. Every religion is a philosophical system. So that these two things don't contradict each other. It is a religion.
Well, there aren't practices per se.
There are some practices.
I don't want to defend Taoism. I would say that the only reason I'm using the term Taoism is because I've read it somewhere. There, the ideas of there's some philosophical ideas that are useful. There's some references to things that it's clear how Taoism influenced the development of Zen. My background is in Christianity, fundamentalist Christianity. I dabbled a bit in Islam, and like I really define myself as a conscious being, then a human, then a woman, then a mother, and as far as whether I do have a sense that there is consciousness behind reality and meaning.
So Taoism believes in Qi, and Qi refers to this life force or vital energy that flows through all living beings and the cosmos. Maintaining the proper balance and flow of Qi is essential for health, longevity, and spiritual well-being. This is basically superstitious nonsense by Taoism. So that makes Taoism a religion.
So
I know a lot of people wasted so much money on maintaining I know a lot of people that have wasted so much money trying to get the proper flow of Qi in their office space or in their school or in their home, believing that this is it's kind of like the Force. It's like it's kind of like that. It's like they believe in the Force, the power of the Force.
So I do like Star Wars. I do like Star Wars for the Force. That's mostly why I like Star Wars. And it's clear it has Taoist and Judaic influences.
Yeah, well, none of this has been verified to be true. This is superstitious belief, right?
I don't have. Okay, so like I've looked at different philosophical systems and religions, and then I pull out of it. I mean, I pull out of it what makes sense, and what makes sense is the good. And when I say Taoism, I honestly didn't really realize it's an actual like religious practice. To me, it is a description of of something that can't be described, and then to institutionalize it beyond that,
it just feels good. Like, so it's not. It doesn't make sense. It actually does not make sense because the claims that it makes has not been verified by empirical evidence. So that's the very meaning. That's the very definition of not making sense. However, if you say it just feels good to just like play along, I could see that, but it doesn't make sense. But you could just, even if it doesn't make sense, you could just play along because it just feels right. Like, I mean, people like Harry Potter or people like pretending like they're in Star Wars world and stuff like that. I mean, I get that,
Well,
but it doesn't. If you don't say it makes sense, because it
So
doesn't make sense.
I mean,
Go on.
okay, so I am anti-religion. The moment you told me there are actually people trying to control chi, because I'm not that well read. The moment you told me that, I was like, okay, I definitely don't like that label. But I find it's funny because sometimes people don't know what Tao is. The first thing about Taoism, and it's a useful way to explain a yin yang. But no, I'm a deist and I'm anti-religion. I find value in spiritual, what could be considered spiritual writings like the Tao Te Ching, but I don't live my life based on what's written in any book or what anyone tells me. And
Okay.
I view like, to me, I view the cosmos as a whole that functions just as science says, just as physics and chemistry and all the hard sciences describe. Okay, my sense is that there is.
So when you say I don't live my life,
but just the way we.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say it's
if I try, yeah.
There's a huge delay that is making this conversation difficult. I just want to say that it's not bad to sometimes live based on what other people have said if what they said is good advice. So we don't want to go all the way to the other. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I just want to
That's
go on.
not what I'm saying. When I say what I'm saying is like, I talk, everyone I know, interact with, new people, friends, acquaintances, family members. I take everything that people say into account, as well as other information that I'm exposed to, and then I make a decision on my own. But to me, going to church is, when people sing praises, they're singing the praises of their pastor. They're not singing the praise.
Okay.
If they were doing what their system seems to be designed to do, they would be going out on the street and helping homeless people instead of paying tithes to keep a building open so they can go there for an hour or two a week. No,
not really. Actually, they're doing what. Actually, that's not true, because your priority should be the afterlife and your soul rather than. No, actually, I don't agree that the teachings of Christianity's main priority is for you to go and take care of homeless people. I think the afterlife is more important. I don't think actually, I'm glad that they don't follow the religion. If they followed the religion more closely, there would have been a lot more. They would be causing a lot more misery. This idea that if Christians were being true to the religion, they would go help poor people. No, actually, if they were being true to the religion, they would go out and commit genocide. So no, their teachings of the religion is not that wholesome that they're failing to. I mean, they are failing to follow it, but that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
Right. Well, okay. So that's what has actually occurred in history. I mean, when this
it's in their books.
Jesus said that he came to bring. What's that?
It's in their books. It's in their books that it's in their. It's not just history. It's in their books that they should go commit genocide. And Jesus was a freaking racist. You know that Jesus was a racist, and he compared people to an entire ethnicity of people to dogs. And he was an idiot that cursed a tree just because it didn't have fruits in the right season, in the wrong season. So I don't think Jesus was this good guy that Christians are not following. Jesus was a maniac.
Well, you do not have to preach to me the harms of
I know. I'm just
Christianity.
I'm just sharing my views.
It's my
understanding. I'm not preaching.
It's my understanding that it's my understanding that if it weren't for the formation of Christianity, my life wouldn't be hell most of the time.
Right. And you and many other people.
I agree with that.
It's hell in the sense of societal acceptance. I'm not worried about the afterlife. That's not even on my radar. To me, it's like I have had some serious fallings out with family members because they are conservative Christians, and there's no one gay, lesbian, or with a record in my family, or who even uses marijuana, which is legal in Oregon, by the way. So like I did want to ask about recovering from religion because I know about the organization, and I feel like I would like to look into it.
Yeah, Jim, do you want to explain that? I think you might know. Yeah. Yes, Jim. Do you know much about?
I would go to the website and I would go to the website. I mean, I became a member because I think they're absolutely hysterical and they do good work. They do things like after school with Satan for that they try to get in, and they only go to schools that have after school religious programs and try to get theirs in there. They've got another program, Menstruating with Satan. And, they do a lot of different stuff, but yeah, go to their website and check them out. And then check out your local community, and remember that your local community may be filled with asshats, may be filled with great people. But yeah, just I would check them out online and then find a local group and see what they're up to. I like I said, I joined because I support their activism and I love the way they do it.
Yeah, go check them out.
Yeah,
anyways, and we need to move on to other callers, so go make your final point, and then we have to move to other callers.
Day.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for calling in. Oh,
have a good day.
Yes. Okay. All right, let's go to Mohammed. Oh, wait, before we go to Mohammed, let me do another announcement. I'm on Super Chat. Okay, so we now have a channel that houses all of the shows of the ACA in the audio podcast form. Oh, goody. Visit tiny.cc/AEN podcasts. Okay, and that's, you could see this is good for people who are, washing their dishes, walking their dog, the dog, what the hell? Or exercising, doing weights. This is, if you don't want to look at your phone and get great content, this is a fantastic way to do it. So go check out that URL. I mean, some people walk their dogs, I don't know. There you can listen to all the latest shows from the Atheist Experience, Talk Heathen, Truth Wanted, the Nonprofits, and others on one channel. Fantastic. Okay, so, and we also have a super chat by Fern Lovebond, member for 6 months with the $2 super chat, saying TSC self-ID as a NRM. Oh, so the Satanic Temple, I think you're saying, they self-ID as a what is NRM? Non-religious member or non-religious something? I don't know, non-religious, NRM, I don't know. And have 501c3 tax status. NRM, non-religious, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Somebody maybe send us another. Hey, friends, send us another super chat and clarify that. How about that? Okay, so let's go to Mohammed. Mohammed is saying origins of Islam, standard narrative and identity and historical. Okay, so let's see what Mohammed has to say. Hi, Mohammed.
Hi. Hi, Jim. Hi,
Hello.
Armin.
Hey.
Go ahead. Tell us.
Big fan.
About the origins. Yo, thank you. Oh, wow. Fantastic. There's a
Armin.
delay in the audio, so if I interrupt you, I'm not being rude, okay? Don't get upset with me if I interrupt you. It's just, there's just a delay. But go ahead.
Oh, I totally understand. I know on this show, it's so easy to talk over each other because of this delay when you're talking to, a Christian theist caller. It happens all the time while I'm watching, and I'm just like, just let the other person talk, because there's a lot of talking over. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to say that I watched all the videos of ex-Muslims of North America, and and I see all the posts on social media. I'm Egyptian originally, and I live in America now. I called the Atheist Experience 14 years ago when it was with Matt Delahanty and Martin Wagner. It was episode 680, and I was actually calling from Egypt at the time. That was in 2010.
Amazing. That's dangerous, I think. Is that dangerous to call the AC? Yeah, go on.
From Egypt? No, not at all. I was just telling how in Egypt nobody, like, it's not like Saudi Arabia, you know, where there's police that come and close shops and force you to pray. That Egypt is nothing like this. Although that was then. Right now, ironically, Saudi Arabia is a very forward-looking and trying to be this ultra-liberal chic country, and it's just really, really shallow, in my opinion. Anyways, there's so many topics I wanted to talk to you about, but you're Iranian, right?
Yeah, Iranian Canadian.
Iranian Canadian. Okay. Well, I'm Egyptian American. So one thing I always wanted to know when I was growing up in Egypt, and I never I didn't become an atheist overnight. It wasn't like one day I was a Muslim, an average Muslim believer. The next day I woke up and I realized there's no such thing as Allah. It wasn't like that. Like, I don't remember that there was ever a time when I actually really believed in any Allah or any kind of religious thing in terms of miracles and stuff like that. Like, I already knew that there was no such thing as the Exodus from Moses, and that, because I remember going to the Egyptian museum and you see the mummy of Ramses, and then you see these people, these tourists, these visitors, and they're from Arab countries, they're mainly from the Gulf, and they're surrounding the sarcophagus of Ramses and they're spitting on it, because they believe that this is the pharaoh of the Bible who persecuted Moses. And anyways,
yes.
So,
but wait a second, Muhammad. You should have told them. You should have told them that doesn't it say in the Quran? Remind me if I'm correct, that Allah has sealed the heart of Ramses so that he couldn't do anything else other than what he did. Doesn't that say in the Quran? So what he did was predetermined by Allah. Huh. Yeah, I think that's what it says. Was that in the?
Yeah, exactly. Go on. Allah hardened his hearts. It always says, verily, Allah hardened his. It's always Allah this, Allah that. Verily this, verily that. Mighty this, mighty that. It's copy paste. Always the same theme. Either he's in control or he's somehow not in control. You never know. So, but that's not the thing. That's not the reason why they were spitting at it. Because when I was growing up in Egypt, there was this whole, there's science and the Quran movement that was starting to be talked about in public discourse. Like, so the Quran says stuff that science just proved in the 20th century, whereas the Quran had it for 14 centuries, and blah, blah, blah. You must know of this, of course, this hoax.
Yeah. Say that. Okay. So wait. You can you say that part once again, and then also get to the point, the thing that you mentioned to the call screener, that you talked about the origins of the Islam. Is that what you're talking about? Can you say this part one more time, and then also let's get to the topic.
Yes. So Okay. So I'll just skip to the topic. So I've been reading a lot, and so here's what I think really happened. So it all goes back to 70 AD, when the Romans kicked the Jews out of Jerusalem and destroyed their temple under the Roman Emperor Vespasian, I think it was, and then his son Titus was the general who did it, and then that created the Jewish diaspora, including the Jewish diaspora in Arabia, and their writings were the origins. I think their writings, their theological writings, rejecting Christianity, rejecting Jesus being the Son of God, that he was just a prophet, like it was just a Jewish sect that developed its own ideas about who Jesus was and then wrote about it, and Islam kind of inherited that. But the Islam that we know today is a Abbasid Caliphate invention. It came from Iran. It came from Iran and Iraq. You know the Kaaba of Zoroastrian.
It's a mix.
The Zoroastrian.
It's a mix of. It started during the Umayyad dynasty. The Abbasid dynasty basically finalized it. But it's a mix of contribution by the Umayyad and Abbasid dynasty.
There's
Well,
actually
we actually do know that the
evidence
formation of the Quran was completed during the Umayyad dynasty.
That's part of the standard Islamic narrative, but I think it developed in the 9th century after Baghdad became the capital.
No, that's not.
There's actually,
No, that's not part of the standard Islamic narrative, because I'm talking about the Umayyad dynasty finalizing the Quran way after Osman. The standard Islamic narrative is that Osman basically canonized the Quran. I'm talking about way after Osman, by the Umayyad dynasty, not by the Rashidun.
Yeah, Osman was the Rashidun. Okay. Osman was the Rashidun Caliph, yes. And then later the Umayyads. But the story of Muhammad and the cave and the Gabriel telling him to read, and how it all started is a spun narrative that only appeared, like the hadiths appeared in the 9th century in Bukhara, in Sahih Bukhara. This all came from Iran, I think, and there's no trace of Mecca before the Abbasid Caliphate was established. Yeah. They made up Mecca. They made up the Kaaba. They made up the story of the idol.
So this was okay. So you're correct, Mohammed. You're correct, but you're getting the time a little bit wrong. Okay. So yes, they made up. So all of these stories are made up. All the hadith narratives are for 200 years after the death of Muhammad. So none of it is. All of the stories about Muhammad and how Islam came to be is made up and is like it's made up history. What you're suggesting is that during when Christianity was being canonized in the Roman Empire, the part of the ideology that was not accepted as canon in Christianity was moved to the fringes, and basically we had cults that were considered blasphemous. They had, for example, Judo-Christian cults or smaller religions that believed that Jesus was a prophet and not the Son of God. And those Christian beliefs was eventually what eventually turned to Islam. And also when we say Muhammad Rasulullah, it's that Muhammad is the name Muhammad is not even referring to the Prophet of Islam. It's actually referring to Jesus. And Muhammad was not the name of the Arab leader that united the Arabs. It actually means the praised one, and is referring to Jesus being the Prophet of God rather than being the Son of God. So all of what you're saying is correct based on the new evidence that we have. However, the only thing that I disagree with you is that the canonization of the Quran actually happened during the Umayyad dynasty after the Rashidun time, right? And also the idea of the creation of Mecca as the center of Islam also started during the Umayyad dynasty. The Abbasids just finalized it and added to it, but it started during the Umayyad dynasty before the Abbasid dynasty, if you go actually look at the history. But I do agree that it happened not when the Muslims say it happened. And in fact, not only did it not happen during Osman, the canonization of the Quran, we don't even know if there was an Osman. We don't even know if there was an Ali. We don't even know if there was an Omar. And we know that there was a man that united the Arabs and created an army, but his name was not Muhammad. The name Muhammad was eventually given to him. The only real historical figure that we have evidence for starts with Muawiyah. So is that the things that you're referring to?
Perhaps. It's called what? Muawiyah?
Muawiyah, basically the family of Osman.
Yes, Muawiyah.
Muawiyah, yes, the father of Yazid. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That was that civil war.
Yes.
And they all killed each other.
So we have historical record for his existence, but we have no historical record for any of these other people. None of the Rashidun, and not even Muhammad. The only thing we know about is there was one guy that we don't know his name that united the Arabs to unite them against the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire. We don't know who his name was, and we know that his beliefs are not Islamic. The beliefs that he had is actually contradictory to Islamic beliefs, and one of the earliest documents that we have that refers to his beliefs suggests that he was a Zionist, because he actually believed that the Jews belonged to to Jerusalem. Exactly. They should live in Jerusalem, and he united with Jews. Yes. So anyways, But we're getting into so much historical stuff. I don't know if the audience want to nerd over. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, he first the Qibla was towards Jerusalem, but also some historians and archaeologists say it was Petra, which is just a little bit off of Jerusalem.
So one person has suggested that he's not. We don't know if he's right because he's not an academic. We know that the actual place that Muslims that was supposed to be the Qibla was much much more north than where Mecca is today. So Petra is a good candidate. The person that you're referring to that suggested that Petra is actually the Qibla of Muslims and not Mecca, he could be right, but we cannot yet trust him because he himself is not an academic. His study has to be repeated by actual academics for us to be able to trust his conclusions. But we're waiting on that. It could be Petra, we don't know. But it is more north than where Mecca is a completely made up story. Mecca was not the center of trade like Muslims claim. It's a completely made up city that it was built later. We know that with archaeological evidence that when they dug in Mecca, they have found no sign of trade, like all the things that you would find in a place where it's a center of trade. There's when Saudi Arabia, when they're digging, they find none of that, which is kind of like almost verifies that the whole stories, the history about Mecca is made up. So we know that it's probably wherever the Qibla was is much more northern. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, not least of all because the Wahhabis, they destroyed everything, like even their own history. They dynamited old Mecca. They dynamited all the cemeteries around the Masjid al-Nabawi in Medina. They turned Masjid al-Haram into a Disney, like a 7-star hotel Dubai, and it's no longer, it's even as an atheist, I weep for some of the architectural things that were lost because of the Wahhabist interpretation of Islam in our time. But anyway,
because they don't believe, they think you shouldn't worship dead people like the Shias do. That's why they don't believe. That's why they want to destroy even though they're some of the most radical Muslims, they want to destroy the burial ground of their own Prophet Muhammad because they think that they don't want it to turn into a shrine because they think that you should only worship Allah, not the dead bodies of a prophet. So that's why they don't want it. They think that you shouldn't make these places holy. The only place that should be holy is the Qibla. Yeah, but anyways.
Well, they also wanted to erase any trace of Ottoman history, and they also destroyed Ottoman palaces. And but anyway, yeah. In conclusion, I believe that because the Jews were kicked out of Jerusalem in 70 AD, the Arab conquest of the Levant was done as a way to get the Jews back into Jerusalem because they were not allowed to be in Jerusalem under Byzantine rule. So what if the Dome of the Rock Mosque is actually the third temple? What if the Muslim the Umayyad conquest of Jerusalem is actually the Jewish reconquest of Jerusalem that later became, when the Abbasids took over, became Arabized and became Islamized in the way that we recognize Islam today? Like what if the Umayyads were not Muslims? What if they were actually a sect of Jews that rejected Christianity, rejected Jesus, and they the Quran.
They weren't Muslims. Yeah, it's true. It's true that they were not Muslims. This part is correct. They were not Jews. They were a weird religion that we don't recognize today. They were a kind of a Judeo-Christian religion, and the Arabs, they were an Abrahamic religion that we don't have anymore today. And the people right now think that first a religion like Islam was made, and then these Muslims went and invaded these empires. Now the understanding with more evidence is that actually it's the other way around. These Arabs, when they invaded these countries, their religion was not Islam. They had a different religion. After they became an empire first, and after they became an empire, they created Islam as a religion for the branding of their empire. So before we thought that first we had Muslims and then Muslims became an empire. Now we understand that that's the opposite. The Arabs created an empire, and then after they created an empire, they made a religion to give their empire a branding, and they revised their own history they made up stories about their origins, and that those stories was just accepted by historians all around the world for too many years, and now everybody is now going back and looking at it and realizing that this was all false. Anyways, Mohammed, last word before we go to the next caller. Go ahead.
Religion.
Yes, actually, that's a very good point. Just like other religion, just like Christianity and Judaism. That's very true. That's a very good point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last word. I believe that atheism is on the rise in the Middle East. People are they cannot resist education anymore when they have internet. Yeah, they can spread stupidity, but they can also spread good ideas. Even in Saudi Arabia, there's so many atheists. They call it the Kingdom of Saudi Atheists. I'm 100% sure that Mohammed bin Salman does not believe a single word of this stupid nonsense. He knows it's stupid nonsense. He acts like there's no other way. There's no other way. All the leaders know it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Mohammed bin Salman is an atheist, but he does sometimes act like he is, right? So, but I can't be sure. I cannot read people's minds. But if he ends up being an atheist, I wouldn't be surprised. However, I do not want to claim him, even though what he's doing in Saudi Arabia is benefiting a lot of people. He is a war criminal that committed a lot of war crimes, right? And killed a lot of innocent people. So if he ends out being an atheist, we would disown him or something. I don't know. But if he is an atheist, I wouldn't, based on his actions, I would not be surprised that he's an atheist.
I mean, of course, he uses religion to control his country, like any religious leader knows that they're the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. So.
Well, yeah, maybe. All right. Thank you, Mohammed. That was interesting. I think a lot of guys in the live chat, let us know if this was too much detail, too much history. I mean, I would like to talk nerd about this stuff all day and all night, but I think a lot of people might not know what we're talking about. So we have to go to the next caller, Mohammed. Sorry, Jim. Sure. Yeah, but thank you, Mohammed. I'm going to
me on those. That was a nice talk.
Yes.
No,
yeah,
I found the history interesting, so hope everyone else
yeah.
Well.
Yes. Yeah, it's actually, Jim, this is very devastating to Islam because now that historians, archaeologists are actually daring enough, because this is an area that a lot of scholars would not dare touch because of the risks associated with it. Like we did this already with Judaism and Christianity. When people went and archaeologists went and dug Jerusalem and Egypt and everywhere around that, they realized that the biblical narrative of history was completely off. Like everything that the Bible told us about history was inaccurate, like almost everything, right? So now this is happening to Islam. Now we're realizing, the story of Muhammad and the Rashidun, it seems like it's all made up, and archaeological evidence is showing us that Islam's history is not what it seemed like it was. So yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so yeah. Okay, we have we have a new super chat by Fern Lovebond, member for 6 months, $2 membership, saying, "Oh, see, it worked. I told him or her that we need another super chat to verify what you meant by NRM, and it worked. We managed to get another super chat from Fern saying NRM means new religious movement. You big atheism shill." Okay, that's funny. Well, thank you for that super chat. Okay, so let's do another announcement and then we'll go to the next call. The ACA wants you to know that what is going on in our community. What is going on in our community? Head to www.atheist-community.org, where you can learn about the organization itself, its policies, and how you can get involved. Oh, well, that's nice. You can get involved. Go check out that website. All right, let's go to the next caller. Let's see who we have. We have Adam from DC, from Washington, DC, saying, "I'm British, atheist almost by default, and have just moved to the States. Experienced no hostility yet due to my lack of belief. When will it happen?" So let's see what Adam has to say. Why is Adam so eager to receive hostility? I don't know. Adam, why do you enjoy hostility? Why are you so eager to receive hostility? Go on.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Adam. Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi, how you doing?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm good.
Okay, cool.
Are you? Do you want to be abused? Yeah, go. Oh,
I wouldn't say I'm eager to
there's a delay.
hostility. I just kind of expected it, having listened to, the Atheist Experience for years and years and years. Finally moved to the US nearly 3 months ago. I haven't exactly been shy about the fact that I'm an atheist, and yet everybody seems very accommodating of that, despite the fact that I kind of expected the opposite. I thought that, I spent a lot of time in the States as a tourist visiting, but as somebody that's now been here for quite a long time, anybody that's asked me, my beliefs, and I've said I'm an atheist, has.
Why did you expect the opposite? Why did you expect the opposite?
I guess just through listening to a lot of callers to the show over the years have, American callers have who are atheists have said that they've, felt intimidated or vulnerable when discussing their beliefs, which seem to be the opposite to the cultural norm.
Yeah, but that's not there's a selection bias there. That's not a good way of figuring out what's normal in a society, right? Like if you're listening to this show where more people who are feeling receiving harassment are more likely to call, this is not a very good way of figuring out what's the average experience in the United States, right?
Yeah, and
there's a
that's what happened.
Yeah, so there's also, it's also very regional, right? If you're north of the Mason-Dixon line, and Washington, D.C. isn't quite in that yet, but it is still more metropolitan than a lot of areas. So if you go into the South, more rural areas, I'm in Dothan, Alabama, southern Alabama right now, and there's a church on every corner, and on the other corner is a 7-Eleven selling alcohol, and it's almost literally true. So but when I lived in like Phoenix, that wasn't necessarily the case. There were a lot of churches, but they weren't on every corner. Houston and Austin tend to have a lot fewer churches as well. And they're also in the South, and they also tend to lean a little bit more left. So in those areas in Texas, I wouldn't expect it. There's some atheists up in Birmingham, Alabama that get a little bit, even though Birmingham's a bigger town than Dothan. I get quite a bit of flack here in Dothan when people find out I'm an atheist. So it's regional, and the further you get away from the cities, the more rural you get, the more you'll find it. And the more into the South, you'll find it as well, especially Florida, et cetera. So it's hit or miss, and you're in an area where I wouldn't expect a whole lot of pushback from not being religious.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. Like in terms of what I know, I'm still learning and trying to kind of get a grip on what's what. Regionally, I do have my two daughters are dual citizens. They're British and American citizens, and they live down in Clarksville, just outside of Nashville. And I spent quite a lot of time there. I've kind of had similar experiences that I've had here, albeit in kind of smaller chunks. Where again, like I've been in bars in Clarksville, and it's come up. I had a conversation with an ex-Amish guy. Who was still a Christian but had left that particular cult. And again, he was just very curious as to why he was an atheist, but there was no, which was great because it led to a good conversation, but there was no hostility. And again, I agree with what I said earlier, that this is a small sample. It's just my experience. But I can't talk about anything other than what I've experienced. I just thought it was interesting. My experience so far has been kind of very different to what I would have expected.
Yeah, the United States on average is a great place to be an atheist. On average, it's a great place to be in, like relative to the rest of the world. Like,
if you look at Pakistan or Afghanistan, that's not a good place to be an atheist.
Yeah. I mean, and I think a lot of Americans should appreciate living in America and being American. I think like it's good that you say that, Adam, because I think not enough Americans appreciate being American. Like there's one thing that I noticed: a lot of people, a lot of Americans talk down about to America. Like it's a great country that provides a lot of it's better than most places in the world. So I think I'm not saying we shouldn't they shouldn't be criticizing their own country, but I think they should appreciate what they have as well, because it is a really good country to be. It's a good country to be a citizen of. Go on.
I'm not here to be a cheerleader for America, but if I speak to people that I'm friends with back home and they've asked me how I'm getting on, especially there's a bit of anti-American sentiment in England at the moment, or maybe again just in my experience. And my answer is always, I absolutely love it out here, and I've not had any of this kind of like what we perceive to be this American anti-atheism stuff. I've not experienced it yet, so it's a good thing, obviously. So maybe
I'm glad.
Maybe it will never happen, and hopefully that's the way.
No, I appreciate you calling and saying it's good, because sometimes we just hear so many bad experiences that we need to adjust our view on things. So somebody calling in and saying like, no, this is great. I mean, not to dismiss the experience of the people who have had bad experiences. We're not dismissing that. We're not like that is valid. We should hear those. Those are important. But it's good to also hear some people, giving their perspective that their experience has been great. Like it's good to remember that as well. So not to just exaggerate how bad things are. Again, if you have had a bad experience, I'm not dismissing your negative experience. Please understand that. I just want to generalize that to everybody. But yeah, go on, Adam, and then let's move on to the next caller.
That was it really. I'm not a cheerleader for any particular.
I'm a cheerleader for America. If you don't want to cheerlead the United States, I will do it for you. I will do that.
I am well then. Thank you for the permission. I will continue to cheerlead and not deny it anymore.
Yeah, and I continue. I hope you continue to have the worst part of your American. I hope the worst part of your American experience is learning to drive on the correct side of the road, and that you never have to experience the U.S. medical system.
My main experience has been to teach Americans that it's not called soccer. It's called football because we use our foot. What you call football is actually called stop, start, throw ball. That's something I invented. Stop, start.
Oh. That's funny.
So yeah, that's my.
All right, well, Adam. Yeah.
Cool. Cheers.
All right. Okay, that was fun. Anyways, we're getting close to the end of the show, so I have to go to the next caller. But thank you, Adam. That was a fun call. So thank you for that.
Right. Cool. Have fun,
okay. Have fun as well. Okay, so one more announcement, and then we'll get to another call, and then we'll end the show. So here's the announcement. We want to send a big thank you out to the crew who put this show together every week. Video operators, audio operators, note takers, call screeners, chat moderators. It takes an entire crew to put the show together. So just please join me in thanking them. I appreciate all of you. The show wouldn't happen without you. Did we show the camera? I didn't see on the screen if we showed them or not. I think we didn't show them.
No, we have not done the crew cam yet.
We haven't done the crew cam. Okay. It's okay. And we did the super chat. So yeah, we did the super chat. So we could go to the next caller by AI. Oh no, what is this? Oh yeah, AI from Missouri saying
Al.
Personal experience.
No, I think it's Al.
Oh, Al? Okay. Personal experience. I thought like artificial intelligence was going. Like we're already there. Okay. Personal experience of how I became agnostic, reading the Bible. Good. Dissuaded belief in God. Okay, go ahead. Hi, Al.
Hi. Thanks for having me. So I just wanted to start out by saying the reason why I wanted to call in is because I was dissuaded from God, or if there is ever a God, because the God of the Bible is a tyrant. Because I was brought up as a Jew, and I started becoming agnostic. I guess I'm in my 40s right now. That's all I say about that. But when I saw the made-for-TV movie about Moses, I believe it's called Moses with, oh gosh, I forgot what Ben Kingsley played Moses. And then like Christopher Lee played like the Pharaoh. I always get upset when his son dies in the 10th plague. And my mom said I had to be a firstborn to actually do a praying for the a slaughter of the firstborn for our synagogue at the time. But now in my 40s, I have to ask this: why does his son have to die? Why can't God, if we're going to call him God for whatever reason, why couldn't he just unharden his heart and tell Moses, sure, you could leave Egypt? I'm pretty sure he would have been inclined to say, sure, you can leave Egypt, if he just unhardened his heart, because God did that. And also, he wouldn't have a dead son if and no 10 plagues would have to ensue because God hardened his heart. How can I believe in a tyrant like that?
I mean, I could give you a religious
that's a
perspective.
really good question.
I mean, I could put my religious hat on and tell you, make up something. Do you want me to make something up and give you a religious steelman of a response? Do you want that or no? Or do you want to just?
Well, no. I mean, I
you don't want that? Okay.
I'm not here to kind of like wanting to have somebody explain their religious views. I just came to here to say like what made me get dissuaded from believing in God is exactly that. That, and among other things, that there's slavery in the Bible and how you could trick somebody into owning them and letting them escape and owning them forever. If you have a wife and kids, then if the husband says that I don't want to leave, he becomes property forever. I mean, I opened up Exodus in here.
Yeah. Okay.
And
it's okay. Al, so we get the because you don't want me to like react to that. I think we get the point. So you wanted to just share that you read the Bible and there were things that make no sense to you more from a moral perspective, and that made you doubt. So I mean, that's I mean, you seem to be on a path of discovery, and that's great. Good job. Keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate what you're sharing. But if that's it, I want to say there seems to be another caller that has a problem with one of my positions in my previous calls. So I want to get to that if because we're running out of time. But if you have anything else, like just one sentence before I go get to that call, do you have anything else? Just one sentence. Final point.
Just thank you for having me on here. I
no problem.
Always come on this channel to watch different kinds of discussions like this. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, you're welcome, and thank you for sharing that. Yeah. All right. We're almost out of time, but I want to hear what Dee has to say. So Dee is calling out Armin on his fun comment on the trans caller with the Taoist belief. So we're finally getting a challenge today. So hi Dee, go ahead.
Hi Armin.
Hello.
I just wanted to know what was the purpose of you asking that the trans lady if she just thought it was fun to be a Taoist. What was the purpose of that comment?
The purpose is to satisfy my sense of curiosity. I had that question and I wanted to know the answer. I asked it because I was curious if that was the reason.
But what would make you choose that over any other possible reason someone would have to have a religious belief? Why would you trivialize
it's not trivializing.
Her,
okay.
Her.
Well,
yes, it does.
It's not true. It's not trivializing because I think actually feelings. Hold on, no. It's only trivializing if you think feelings are not important. I take feelings very seriously. I think that you choosing the identity that suits you, choosing rituals that suits you because it gives you good feelings. It's only trivializing if you think feelings are insignificant. I think that's a very rational thing to do sometimes. If you are choosing practices or rituals or identities that make you feel better, I think that's very rational. So you're assuming that I was trivializing it because you think that when I was calling feeling better as if feeling better is not important. Feeling better is a very important thing to me. So it's not trivial at all.
But that's not what you said, Armin. You said, do you just think it's fun to be a Taoist, fun to do these things? That's what you said.
Yeah, that's what I said. Fun. I take fun very seriously. It's important to have fun. It's so important. Fun. We have a very limited time. That's not trivializing either, unless you think fun is not important. That's not trivializing. Why do you think calling something fun is trivializing? Isn't it important to have fun?
But why would you ask him that question?
Ask her that
asking
question.
her that question because I was
yes, her.
Yeah, because I was curious.
I've never heard you ask anyone else. I've never heard you ask anyone else, any other religion, whether they just thought it was fun. Never heard you say.
Are you suggesting that I asked? Are you suggesting that I asked? Are you suggesting that I asked her that specific question because she was a trans? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I take issue with your.
Well, your issue with my questioning is ridiculous. It's
just
okay,
fun.
Dee. Your issue with my question is ridiculous because just because you haven't heard me ask that from other.
You are
Dee, I'm talking.
You are my favorite host.
Okay, I'm gonna. Okay, Dee, I'm answering your question. You asked me a question, and I'm gonna answer it. Okay, so it's a ridiculous issue. It's a ridiculous problem that you have with my question because you're saying the reason that you have for me. The logic behind your argument is that I don't ask this from any other person. You say you haven't heard me ask that from any other person. Okay, just because you haven't heard that doesn't mean that I haven't been asking that. I've actually been asking that more recently a lot. Okay, just because you haven't heard it, that doesn't mean I haven't been asking that. And again, the reason why I ask that a lot more recently because I am. Discussing with a lot of my friends and my audience on the Atheist Republic channel, the idea that the reason why people choose their religions is not because of the the utility of it is not to explain reality. People choose their religions because it gives them a sense of identity and a sense of belonging. So religious beliefs act more in the form of an identity card and a membership card. And if we want to respond to religion, we atheists shouldn't keep pretending that people choose their religious beliefs as a way for them to explain reality to them, because a lot of us atheists constantly argue with religious people, and we try to show them that their religious beliefs do not match reality, with the assumption that that's the whole point of them choosing that religious belief. But when we look into reality, the point of choosing a religious belief is something else. I have been talking about this a lot recently, and I have been wondering about this a lot recently, and that's why this is constantly on my mind. So naturally, when I hear somebody talking about another religion, I get curious if this is also the case. So that's why I was asking her that question. So when you say when you are suggesting that I had some other intentions by asking that beyond just satisfying my sense of curiosity, because you haven't heard me asking that from any other person, to me, that's a ridiculous way of coming to a conclusion. And I appreciate you being a fan of me, but I will, if something is ridiculous to me, I'm not gonna not call it ridiculous. Okay, so it's just how I see it. Anyways, Jim, did you want to add anything to that?
And also, yeah, I do want to add a couple of things. One, I thought in the flow of the conversation, your use of the word of the question was apropos, right? Because we weren't getting a good reason why they were a Taoist. So I thought that was a relatively appropriate thing. It is the first thing within the flow of that conversation, as I recall it. But also, sometimes we're doing this on the fly. We're doing 6 different things all at the same time, and our word choices aren't always the best. And we might decide someday that, we may decide that we really shouldn't have said it that way and would come up with a different way to say it. But if you want to take offense at our word usage, that's kind of on you taking offense, especially when we don't mean to be offensive. And I don't think Armin at any point in any of our conversations today was attempting to be offensive. You can't accidentally be offensive. I just don't believe that. People could take offense at you being accidentally offensive, but that's a whole different thing. So word choices are things that we sometimes regret, sometimes we don't. To take offense at that is, I think, ridiculous. And also go back, listen to the flow. And I think that the question was entirely appropriate. Also, why are you trivializing fun by saying that fun is trivializing anything? Fun adds to our enjoyment and enhancement of stuff. So I don't understand that either. But yeah, I didn't want to jump in there because that was kind of your conversation. But in your defense, I didn't have a problem with your question. I thought it fit the flow quite well.
And also, it didn't seem like she had a problem with what I was saying. And if at any point she corrected me and she told me that she doesn't appreciate what I said, I would have easily apologized to her. I'm like, well, I didn't mean anything bad by it. I'm sorry. But she seemed to be completely comfortable with my questions. But if anybody signals, if she signaled at any point that she wasn't comfortable with my questions, I would have just changed my line of questioning. But anyways, guys, if you think that I was wrong, please leave a comment. I try to read the comments after the show under this video. But also make sure that you comment with the answer to the question of the week. Please make sure you leave a like. Please try to recommend this channel to people. And also, Jim, it's really fun to do the show with you. So I always appreciate having you here. Absolutely. So thank you for coming back. Yeah, and yeah, that's about it. So guys, bye. Till next show. Mwah.
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.